Hey, what's up everybody? It is Kellen here again from Start Your Systems, and welcome to another MX vs. ATV Supercross Encore Career Mode gameplay. And today I'm going to do a little bit of rhythm racing, just have a little bit of fun doing something different. I know I don't think I've done any rhythm racing gameplays on this game, which is a little hard to believe. But yeah, we'll just do probably, maybe I'll do both the MX and the MX vs. ATV series because there's only 5 tracks. But I really wanted to do this video today to more or less talk a little bit about some comparisons between this game and or the upcoming MX vs. ATV game and the new Monster Energy Supercross game, obviously, because now I've had an opportunity to play it. I know what to expect or what it's like, and I can have an idea of what to expect in the new MX vs. ATV All Out game. So maybe talk a little bit about kind of the comparisons between the two and generally break them down. Obviously speaking, with the MX vs. ATV franchise, the thing that they always talk a lot about, hit home with, whatever you want to call it. Oh, this is weird. I didn't know that. I guess we don't go backwards. Alright, so I finished last. It's alright, I'll make it up. MX vs. ATV has a lot freer air physics than the Monster Energy Supercross game and the MXGP series, for that matter. You pretty much are limited to scrubbing. Like people like to call it kind of a turn down whip occasionally, but in Monster Energy Supercross, like, you just get to scrub. Like, you just get to turn the bars down and scrub. In this game, you can scrub, but you can also kind of whip. You can do little oppo whip things. You can kind of do oppo whips in MX vs. ATV, or I'm sorry, Monster Energy Supercross, the game, but they're not very big, and if they happen, it's usually just by luck, by like hitting a tough block weird or something like that. And that's another thing that MX vs. ATV, from Rainbow Studios' perspective, has adamantly talked about in this new MX vs. ATV All Out game, is that you're going to have the ability to really control the bike, like really get a grasp over what it's doing in the air, get better traction down towards the ground, all this kinds of different aspects of the game that they're very excited about and keep talking about. And if it turns out to be accurate, then it really opens up a pretty cool realm of another game for us, because I feel like Monster Energy Supercross has done a pretty good job at tackling realistic scaling, to a degree realistic speeds, but the scaling is really like the most important part there, and in general, like, driving home realism from a graphical standpoint. But MX vs. ATV is still out there for like the fun, free-flowing side of the arcade games. I come from MX Simulator, so I kind of fall towards both of these games are a lot more arcadey than realistic than anything else. But MX vs. ATV, like I said, with the realistic scaling and speeds, does a pretty good job of making like the racing itself, I think, a little bit more fun and close. Whereas MX vs. ATV, and any Rainbow Studios title for that matter, over the years has generally been pretty far overscaled. And some people like it. I personally don't, because I like the realistic aspect of the racing. That's why I got into MX Simulator and MX Bikes and all those games. But some people do like this free-flowing arcade type feel of a game still, and I understand those people. Like, that's something that I enjoy picking up and playing occasionally. I'm gonna restart this event because I'm just sucking, and I actually want to be able to beat this career mode. So I'm kind of like in the middle here. Like, it's cool that Monster Energy Supercross, the game, has done such a good job at giving us a title that has realistic scaling, realistic speeds. The aspects on that level are like really cool, but they're still missing the mark in a lot of things. Namely the air physics is one thing that people will touch on, but I still feel in general like the bike is pretty weightless on some degree. Like, you can kind of just come up short on random rhythm sections, no problem, and ride out of it. And like, not really a glitch, but like a little thing that we at SYS have found out with the game is that, like, you can treat almost any rhythm section in that game, whether it's the real tracks or a custom track you make, as a whip section. Like, there you can just brot right over the whole top of every jump and get through it no problem. It's actually like faster to do, so I think that kind of sucks. Like they did such a good job with scaling and graphics and speed and stuff like that, but then they failed so hard at like bike dynamics and then obviously air physics to make it like not feel as flowy. You can make it feel flowy and realistic, but like in general, there's parts of it that are missing the mark, and this game is lagging super hard right now. I don't know why. Maybe it's just this track, or maybe it's just that starting gate. And then just in general beyond, there's a lot of other issues that are palpable with Monster Energy Supercross, the game. Namely, their online system has been kind of flawed since day one. Like, they've had server issues, but also the actual gameplay itself, like the collisions are terrible. It makes the racing dynamic with online stuff a lot less fun. Like, it's funny because it's so stupid, but it's not as fun from the aspect that you can't actually race your friends, because all you do is, like, the second you get close to each other, you send someone over the berm, and then the battle that you were having is over. So I don't know. I don't really like that aspect of it, and for the most part, I feel like MX vs. ATV has done a pretty good job with collisions and online and all that stuff to make it a generally more fun game to play with your friends. But I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that Monster Energy Supercross isn't fun to play. I'm just saying that that's one of the glaring problems that it has, and I'm curious to see with All Out if it's going to be the same way, if the online is as crappy and All Out as it is in Monster Energy Supercross. Like, personally speaking, I'm happy that both games are coming out, and I'm not trying to like bash on either one, but on some degree, as a YouTuber and as a motocross fan myself, I have to pick apart the game's flaws. Like, I have to say what I really feel about them, because otherwise we're not going to have any progress from my perspective. I'm just going to sit here and talk about how great a game is that maybe isn't that great. So I think that there's, like I said, I think there's things that they can do to make it better. When or what they're going to do to do that, I don't really know yet, because I've gone and actually talked to the MX vs. ATV guys before about this, and some of them understand that their game has wonky physics, and I think before it was just them basically blaming the Alive physics engine that they had to play with, but now they have a whole new game coming out, and some of it looks really good and promising, and some of it looks really bad and not promising at all. So it's a mix, Do you want to have this awesome, free-flowing, arcadey-feely game, which I feel like Reflex kind of was, or do you want realism and stuff like that? Because we pretty much have two games that cover both right now, and nothing meets in the middle, except unless you spend a ton of money on a computer and buy like MX Simulator or something like that. I mean, some people will probably argue with me and say that Monster Energy Supercross is the greatest game of all time, and some people will probably argue with me and say that these games are the greatest games of all time, and to each his own. That's fine. That's your opinion. But these tracks are massively overscaled. There's no denying it. There's no real life straight rhythm that has jumps this big, and like the rider feels off. There's just things wrong with it, Like, there's things that they can make better. They're getting there. Gradually. It's a slow process, but they're getting there. And that's why I'm happy to play them and show them off and talk about them and share my thoughts and opinions with you guys about them, because on some level, it's good to have these games coming out all the time. New games every year, sure, whatever, but sometimes I wish that maybe these guys would just like sit down and be like, let's go start to finish, not do anything else, not pay attention to the other game that we've already made. Let's just push that to the side and spend 3 years building a crisp, clean product. Because, in my opinion, Monster Energy Supercross is rushed. There was a lot of things wrong with it from day one. It needed like 2 patches right away. There's, people still that I see on the channel all the time mention like, hey, I'm getting this thing pop up where I suddenly have 4 million credits, and it's like, well, that's clearly not what should be happening unless you have Jamie T's save file and Reflex, right? But it's just little things like that that make the playing experience maybe less fun for the casual gamer, and they're like, man, this game looks like wonky and crappy, that like here I am suddenly just randomly with a bunch of credits, and like the career mode's over at that point, because what do you have to play for in the career mode anymore? You've won everything because you have all the money. So there's that, but you know, there's lots of fun aspects too. I'm not trying to rip it apart, as I said, just offering general thoughts and opinions on the game after playing it for basically a week now, getting a real good grasp on what it's like, etc., etc. I am very excited for MX vs. ATV All Out though. Seeing some of the gameplays that have happened, seeing the screenshots. They kind of have been updating their Facebook page daily since Monster Energy Supercross came out, I think trying to sway some of the, you know, the people that didn't like Monster Energy Supercross over to their end, if you will. And they'll gradually keep doing that, I'm sure, or just in general to build hype. I'm sure on some level it's a mixture of both, but you know, new nationals, new Supercross tracks, although the only track they've shown so far is actually an old track from Untamed, so again, there's good and bad there, because it's like, oh cool, maybe they're throwing it back retro a little bit, but then maybe they've run out of creativity and they're not making anything new either. Definitely still would like to see more. You know, they're going to be talking about it more, releasing more information, I'm sure. I'm still just kind of waiting to see more like good raw gameplay videos. They keep doing these like weird, they just started doing this series in it now where Stefan Roncada and Mike Mamula, who's a level designer there, are like racing each other in the game for some reason, just like talking about it and racing each other, and it's like a 1.5-minute long video. It's like, okay, cool, like game developers talking about it, but like the general fan here just wants to see gameplay. Like, we don't need to see the people unless they're talking about, like, it's an interview with them and they're actually talking about features in the game, but so far that's not really the case. But like I said, I'm excited for it because it's another motocross game. It's almost like a new discipline, if you will, because they're using some features that they've never used before, like the Unreal 4 engine, and they said they've started from scratch on physics. To me, it still looks a little alive-ish, just with some updated physics around it, but we'll see what happens from that. And yeah, I'm excited. Should be a good game. I will definitely be playing it. We are... Oh, by the time this video comes out, we're pretty much just like a month away from it being released, which is crazy to think about. It's coming up pretty quick. Got lots of new games to play this year, that's for sure. Been trying to keep up to date with that whole LCQ Studios project, the Motocross Chasing the Dream game. Seems like they've got some good things going on over there. And then, yeah, obviously we've been playing a lot of Monster Energy Supercross, the game. Oh my gosh, I hate how hard it is to keep your rhythm in these tracks. For rhythm racing, it's not very rhythmy. Like, it's so hard to get everything timed perfectly. And it's so random too. Like, sometimes it works totally fine, sometimes it doesn't. One thing I do wish that All Out would try to take from Monster Energy Supercross is a track editor. The only like innovative track editor into a game I've ever seen is for Supercross. Motocross is a lot harder, obviously, with rolling hills and stuff like that, trying to make jumps work. But I wish that someone would take the time and do that and just like make it a possibility. Because I really have been enjoying the track editor. It's probably my favorite part of Monster Energy Supercross, the game so far. Like, that is an awesome feature for them to add. It's created a lot of opportunities to not only make custom tracks, but in my case, I've already created like 3 or 4 replicas, and like they're all pretty fun to play, and it's kind of like a good way to see every track beforehand, talk about it. Now we just need a Nationals version of the track editor. MX vs. ATV, you got to step up with that one, right? We're just straight rimskin racing today, though, man. I got one more race to go. This video is just shooting on by. Or do I have one more race to go? I think it's just one more. Have I already done 4, or was that the 3rd one? I think this is the last one. We'll see. They're all pretty much in the same arena, too. But that's cool. At least there's different track options. Am I right? Oh, I could have doubled that. Here, I'll do it. Aw, man. Oh, man. Double this. No. It's really weird, too, to see motocross racers end up on quads in this game. Like old MX vs. ATV games, they used to actually put real quad racers in this game, but like Joey Dalzell races their bikes, and here he is on a quad. I wonder if anybody ever had like the opportunity, these pro racers ever had the opportunity for like input saying like, oh god, please never put me on a quad. Or if it's just like, oh cool, you're in the game, so you're gonna be on a quad. I don't know. Anyway, thoughts and opinions, Monster Energy Supercross versus MX vs. ATV All Out. Still trying to work through the career mode, but I've now beaten or gotten through the 2 motocross versions of rhythm racing. I'm pretty much down to just quad racing in one East Championship. So we might get to that in the next video, but for now, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye to y'all, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, because if you did, there's a nice like button for you. But my name is Kellen here from Start Your Systems. I'm so glad you guys tuned in, and I'll see you guys in the next video. So long for now.